Okay, so we're gonna review Slain, but this is a. I like the text, it's all fucked up. I guess this is a provisional review, is what I'm gonna say, what I'm gonna call it. Because the game isn't. It's done, technically. It's released, technically. And it looks cool. It looks cool. But it's got a lot of problems, and man, does it have a lot of problems. It's really just. I mean, okay. So first of all, they're on the Steam page saying, "Hey, we're gonna fix this." First of all, we're gonna fix the missing sound effects, of which there are many. A lot of the deaths don't have sounds. A lot of the sound effects just don't exist. You don't even realize that there's no sound effects until you miss one, and you're like, why wasn't there a sound effect there? And then you start thinking about it, and you start looking at it, and you realize, yeah, there's been no sound effects for like half this shit. But that doesn't matter. The actual music is good, but the rest of this, and you'll see me die a lot. It comes down to the combat, because the music, fine, good. It's like this heavy rock music that's cool, and then the art is great. But the game part is kind of broken, and I don't really understand how they didn't notice, I guess. The game starts off fine. The first level's a little funky, but fine, and then it just kind of devolves into these weird scenarios where you have to not necessarily memorize the enemy's locations. You will, because you'll die a bunch, but where you have to like hit them in the right way so that they don't hit you while you're killing them, if that makes any sense. Like, there are these normal enemies, and they'll die in a 3-hit combo, okay? But on the 3rd hit, they're just about ready to hit you. And regardless if they die or not, that 3rd hit is very likely to kill them, but still hit you. So you have to start playing this weird game of making sure that their hit doesn't land, even if they're going to be dead. Or in enemies like this guy's case, you have to just attack the entire time, because there is no way to reliably dodge the enemy's attack. And it's this weird, and it's kind of fun sometimes, but it doesn't necessarily work. The part of the problem is the checkpoints are all over the place. In a bad way, I mean that in terms of, oh, sometimes they're just do a room, and you're like, okay, whatever, here's another checkpoint. And then other times it's dodge 30 of these obstacles, and then fight 15 guys, and then it's a checkpoint. And you're like, this is fucking crazy. Not to mention that the game was delayed specifically to fix difficulty issues in January. And I don't know why I ended up buying this, and not like I regret it, because it was enjoyable in a weird experiment sort of way, but it doesn't feel finished. Specifically with the combat, does not feel right. These guys that are flying at me, these little wraiths, are incredibly annoying. You got weird platforming like that, where it's like, am I allowed to walk on this one part? Am I not allowed to walk on this part? I'll skip ahead to another part here and kind of see the levels change. But look at what the hell is even happening here. I'm just getting hit by you can't even escape. So that's part of the problem. Is that a Wii U game? No, it's I think they wanted to make it on Wii U. It's right now a PC game. I got it for $8, I think, and that's probably too much. But this game could be good is part of the problem. It could be a good game, but it needs like an entirely new combat system. Like, here you'll hit these things and then health pops out of them, but the health starts flying away for no reason. And it's not it, and I don't mind that. Sure, make that like Mario does that with the health pickups. Fine. But they start flying away, and they're flying away in the blood explosion, so you can't see them. So you have to know that it's flying away. There are other points where you have to just make blind jumps. And in a game where you fought so hard with so convoluted enemies to get to a certain point, you don't want to take blind jumps. There's weird things like this, like that switch is there. This room's awful. It's just things don't line up, things don't fit right. Fighting those guys, like, see, I get hit by them. Damage values aren't consistent. Sometimes I'll get hit by that guy and it'll barely do anything. Other times it does like like an eighth of your health bar or something, which is way more than a normal hit would. Other times you can sit there, and a good strategy for a lot of these bosses or enemies and bosses is to sit there, kneel down, and just wail on them, because that's your fastest attack, and there's no reason to do any other attacks. There's no experience points, or anything like that, so there's no leveling up, there's no getting better. The only thing you get is like a fire sword and an ice axe, which is cool. The different weapons. The game never tells you that you can use the D-pad to switch between weapons, so that was a frustrating 20 minutes of my life. How do you know to get past some obstacles? You just have to see them. For the most part, it's pretty simple. For its credit, it does do a good job of not making the crazy stuff happen immediately. So I think coming up, you'll see some obstacles. There are like these, what are they? Statues holding a morning star, and the morning star, they'll drop it and it'll swing back and forth, and you have to jump over it. So you see that once, and then you know what to do. You just wait for it to stop moving, or you jump over it. You'll die once. There's guillotine type of things that just smash you, or spots on the ground that you'll notice. It does actually a decent job of telling you and telegraphing that these things are there. But some of them, specifically, and not in this level, but in one of the other levels, there are about 10 of these things. There's the mace. There's about 10 of these things that will crush you in a row. And the timing for them is so precise that there's like no room for error. It's not like in Mario you might have a good second or two between when you need to jump over a thwomp or not, for example. In this game, you have to jump when it wants you to jump, more or less. Like these things, these squashers. You can get really screwed over. There's not a lot of leeway there. And in a game that doesn't have super tight controls, it's not that fun. Specifically when you can jump into the side of those, and they'll kill you anyway. Even if they're going up or whatever. It doesn't matter. You'll get crushed to death. So it doesn't quite add up. And in that other level I was mentioning, they have this enemy that shoots a projectile at you. So, and the only way I was able to do this, to get past those stompers, was to go halfway into one and then run back out, so that the guy on the other side, I could trigger his projectile. Because otherwise, if I ran through it and got past it, the projectile would hit me back into it. There was no other way to do it besides halfway running in, he shoots the projectile, I run away, dodge, then wait for the object to dodge it again, and then kill the guy. And it was super frustrating, and that's part of the problem. It feels like a game that wasn't balanced very well in terms of only the developers played it. And I don't necessarily blame you, because you're gonna play your own game. That makes sense. But you're not gonna notice these things. Like, look how I just fought that boss. That's not how you should fight any boss. And also with that boss, you saw him blow up in fire. If you get hit by that fire, it does a lot of damage, one. Which, first of all, is his death throw. So you're going to be engulfed in flames most likely. This part of the game, oh my god, lost my mind. It took me like 30 minutes. Which is why I partially recorded this, because I was losing it. So I just kept playing. I was like, I bought this game. I got to get through it. I can't not. Oh no. We're not even going to get to it. I'll talk about that. It is tedious. It is tedious, but it like every once in a while it's fun. And that's the weirdest thing. It's okay sometimes. And other times it's not okay. Oh, that fire is what I was talking about. The fire is awful. I mean, you can see what I have to do here and dodge things and how you have to win this point is one of the parts that does not have a good checkpoint system. Yeah, if you're forcing yourself through a game, then it's no good. I was forcing myself through it as more of a social experiment, I guess, but also because I bought it, and I felt like, well, might as well play it now. There are some cool ideas, like there's a decapitation move, which the game never really explains, but when you get a lot of the enemies down to low health, you can see this like red mark on their head, and if you press another button, you do a different attack that chops off their head, which is kind of cool and unique, and it restores a lot of your mana, so you can use the magic. Not being able to love makes it seem like a button match. That's not the problem though, because like even if you had, you can argue that a game like Dark Souls is a button masher. I mean, you can make that argument anything. The real problem is that the enemies don't let up, or they don't even, it's not even that they let up. Like that boss, if you saw the skeleton boss that I just kneeled down and hit to death, he doesn't move. Like if he actually moved away from you and did things and you had to follow and chase him, that would allow the combat to kind of have some room to breathe, instead of it being where the only way to win that fight is to be super aggressive and just do that. I don't know how you would do it any other way. You got some nuance here. There is another boss in one of the other stages that like flies around and summons guys, and was actually fun to fight. That's what's so confusing about this game, is like there are moments that are good, but they're just surrounded by this stuff that it's not like it's bad. It just feels unfinished and unpolished. And there you can see his red thing on his head. It doesn't matter. The other thing with this game is like the game doesn't tell you this is the last level, and I'm not even sure if it is. I think there's actually another level. But you get to the ending, and I'll spoil the ending because who gives a shit. But this sword you're using is apparently a sword that like travels through space and time or something, and has many different owners. And you go into space, and I was like, this is gonna be cool. We're gonna have a level in space, and I'm totally down for that. A random level in space. Then the game ends, and it says credits, and then the screen just kind of sits there, and I sat there for a good 10 minutes, not watching any credits or anything at all. And then I just had to Alt F4 and close out of the game. Like the credits never rolled, nothing ever happened after that. I'm pretty sure there's another level I didn't get to see, which at this point, I don't know how I feel, because if I have to do this final level again, I might lose my goddamn mind. I already did it twice, which I'm not even going to get into. Do you think the fun parts make this game worth the buy? No. See, that's the thing at the top of this where I said this is a provisional review, because they are patching this. They are actively trying to make it better. I'll actually we'll go onto their thing right now and see here. But no, right now it is not worth it. Here you go. The last update was, what, 3 days ago? This Monday or so? We'll be using an updated sound effects professional. What is this even? Oh, there's like text bugs that are actually really funny, like bad grammar and spelling, and there's certain points where it says, what did it say? It said IMO, like it used the acronym in this game. It's weird. It's so weird. So yeah, here's their update and plan. Also, the Steam achievements didn't even pop, which is insult to injury. They never tell you any of these things. I didn't know you could charge your magic until I looked and saw this. And I feel kind of bad for them, because they spent, this was a Kickstarter game that got funded but didn't like do crazy numbers. And they seem passionate, and they seem like their heart's in the right place. They have been vocal on this update thing of like, hey, we're trying to fix games, the games. It's just really, it's really weird. It's particularly when the first level, if you ever played like Castlevania 1 through 3, I think it's been years, but if you've only played any of those games, it kind of feels like that. It's kind of level-headed in that respect, and then you get to, I'm still on the same section, by the way, and I still will be because it's god-awful checkpoints right there. It plays like Castlevania. It has the weird kind of floaty jump that, or it's like a stiff jump. It's like a boop, 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 boop. And that's fine. There's some like light platforming things that you jump on a platform and you can't land in the water and there's something shooting at you and it's fun. You know how to, you can block things easily. Magic. You can only block magic projectiles. You can't block swords or weapons or whatever, but you only really need to block projectiles. And so the first level's fine. And the next level's kind of like, okay, this is not that amazing. And then it just like falls over the deep end of, here's 800 guys to fight, here's 16 traps in a row, and we're not going to tell you how to do this, we're not going to tell you how to do that. And it has promise, though. It has promise, but I don't know how they'd fix it without changing a lot of the game. Or like rehauling the entire thing. In terms of enemy damage or enemy placement. Like, look at this level. There are birds flying at you constantly. And if they hit you, they do a good amount of damage. And you have to deal with them flying at you this entire time with these enemies, with other enemies shooting fireballs, with platforming that if they hit you, you're going to fall into the thing, with traps, which are insta-kills, regardless of anything. You have limited magic, you can't heal yourself at all, there's no checkpoints at this one point. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and it's not, like, I've beaten all the Souls games. So I've played a hard game, and I've played a hard section. Like, this isn't Anor Londo. This is like, this isn't the Archers of Anor Londo. This is like if you had to do 6 sections of that in a row at some points. Not necessarily in terms of difficulty, but in terms of just how frustrating and annoying it can be. Because it's not fair when you're just wandering, all of a sudden a projectile hits you, and now you're in a bad position, and you're surrounded, and you can't move because everything's hitting you, and when you get hit, you can't control your movement or attack, so you're kind of floating around, juggled between things. Like, if you get swarmed, you're dead. You're dead. Don't get swarmed. There is a dodge move, so you can dodge backwards, which I guess the most I can say about it is that it is a button that does something. It works. It works. That's not, yeah, I mean, but it's very clearly, it's not like this is like some shitty game that they just did in a week and like, here's your shit game, peace out. They actually seem to care, and I'll see if they actually update it. And if they actually do fix it, whether it's in a month or in 6 months, I'll come back and play it and maybe talk about it again, because there could be something good here. And if I actually get to play a level in space, I'm down with that. But, oh, if you saw that on that video, it'll tell you this thing. It doesn't have any sound effects for this, and it doesn't really have any visual clues that are super noticeable, because there's a lot going on. It'll tell you, hey, the red Skeletrus is glowing. And what that means is back the hell away, because it's about to use an AoE spell that kills everything. An AoE spell that has no sound effects or no nothing, and you can get killed by it and not know what happened. That's the kind of problems I'm talking about. Is these weird decisions that I feel like they almost should have given the game out to a bunch of people and had them playtest. Like, I would have gladly playtested this game and been like, here's my playthrough, look at where I had problems. Like, these are everyone else is going to have similar problems. And that's what it, and obviously they're a small team, I would have done it for free, I mean, fuck, come on. But that's the problem. Look at this fight, like, it's so tense, because you can so easily, a lot of times when you hit enemies, they'll hurt you, and then you can't attack, and then they'll hit you, and then you can't attack, and then you're like too close, you're too far away to hit them, but too close to dodge their giant sword. It's maddening. If the game was simple and easy, it wouldn't be the same game, though. So the enemies just need to be, I died there once. And oh my god, I was, yeah, you know, it definitely doesn't hold your hand, but it, like, there's a difference between, for example, Dark Souls, where you don't, like, you can play all of Dark Souls and not know you need to lock on, or that you can lock on, rather. But in this game, it like doesn't tell you what magic that you can press down and hold the magic button to do a magic attack. Like, there are things you're going to need to do. There are things you have to do, and the fact that it doesn't tell you isn't like, oh, you just gotta learn and play better. Like, no, how was I supposed to know that? Half the time it tells you with these like on-screen text displays, which are hard to read because they're on the screen for a second when you're fighting 16 guys. It's just, yeah, it's just frustrating. I don't know. I could recommend it if you have like $5 lying around and it's $5. It might be a fun afternoon. I maybe played it for, oh, it'll tell me. It'll tell me on my Steam thing how long I played it for. 5.5 hours, yeah. But that's it. Enough about Slain. I don't want to pile on it because it's like, I understand, and it's not just a pile of garbage. It's just got a lot of problems. It feels like a beta. It feels like some game that you'd play in beta. Like, oh, we haven't adjusted the damage yet, or we haven't finalized the combat. Like, that's what it feels like. But yeah, feel free to ask me anything else that's not about Slain. This poor game. This poor game. Because it looks really cool, and I'm sure they were all excited, and I'm sure they're all real sad. Not that that's really anything. Oh, like right here. Right here. Okay, you just did this really difficult part, right? Where do I go? Do I jump to the right? I don't want to do that and die. I assume that's what I'm supposed to do, but the camera never pans. Not to mention, when you're running left, the camera doesn't pan to show you more. Like, if you look at the screen, there's more screen real estate on the right side than there is on the left side. And so in the levels, when you have to go to the left, you're at a disadvantage simply because the camera doesn't move. And so at some points that really is a problem. And these are little nagging issues that, like, just distributing your game to 20 people, they could have told you, and maybe that added more time to development, but I think a lot of this game was spent time on art, which is great. The art's great. Yeah, it could be a good game. Get rid of all these goddamn birds. They're driving me crazy. We're almost getting to the end. Yeah, if you can see, you could probably see the cameras. It's not that it's stiff, it's just like weird. It's not very good. The camera's too low for what you have to do sometimes. Like if you have to jump down, that's kind of a problem. You could push blocks. I don't know. I feel like that was a thing they just figured out they could do and they just put in at some points because it doesn't really add anything. I need to fix my little thing over here. Yeah, the red skelly chest begins to rattle. Oh, thanks for... The first time I saw that, I was like, huh? I don't know what that means. Oh, it means it's gonna kill you. Oh, thanks. Thanks, game. Next time I'll know. You jerk. It's so weird. Now, trying to fix this thing. This is actually going to see the end of the game, or close to the end. What I think is the end of the game, I don't know, because I couldn't actually play it. There you go. I'm very professional. But yeah, we can talk about something else. Besides the end of this game. This is the end, or at least the end I get. You can see the text. The text has weird issues too, like it auto will go to the next line, or the next dialog box, but it doesn't. Sometimes it does that quickly, and sometimes it doesn't. So you're like, oh, I'll press A to advance it, and then you'll advance 2 because it was going to do it anyway. That's just a minor thing to fix. But yeah, the game. This is how the game I think ends. You're going into space. He kills you, and you're like, I'm a sword? What the hell? And then there's like this CG guy going to grab the sword. I'm like, this is cool. Like this is now really cool. And the game's over, and then the credits don't show up, and I mean, spoilers. Yeah, you thought you were playing as Bathorn or whatever, but you really that wasn't even a sword. Whoa, whoa. Somewhere in deep space, like that's what's so stupid and cool about this. I was very hyped for this. Somewhere in deep space, like holy shit, we're going into space. The next level is gonna be in space. What does that even mean? It's got this 3D model of a weirdo about to grab a sword. You know, just wait for the credits to start rolling, and then they don't roll. I think it says to be continued as well. Yep, to be continued. And then credits right about now. Yep, credits. Oh, no credits. And the screen. And this is where it sits. And I waited. You see the video. I waited at least 6 minutes at this empty screen for anything to happen. Yeah, it's a weird ending, but I don't think anyone's playing it for the story. Hopefully. Hopefully. I don't know. It's weird. It's such a weird game. They might have ran out of money. I think on Kickstarter they made, I don't know, $16,000 or something. And that was a couple of years ago. So it's entirely possible they just ran out of money and needed to put it out. I don't really know. I don't know though, because that would be like all the Kickstarter people aren't paying you. They already did pay you, so I don't know who else you're gonna get. But I don't know. It's a weird issue, and it's not like it's a terrible thing. It's very strange. I'd like to know, but and we might know if it never gets fixed. We might know if they ran out of money. Unfortunately, trying to fix my chat now. It is cheap, yeah. I mean, even what is it? I got it on Green Man Gaming for 20% off the normal price, so like $9, $8, something like that. And they're only asking like $12 in the first place. It's not terrible. It's a thing. Because if you like rock music and weird Castlevania games, the first part is not that bad. Like the first hour or so, you're gonna be kind of into it, and that's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. And if they actually patch it, you'll have a better game. Here's the ending that doesn't exist.